Welcome back to the Michael Loses podcast. We are live. Let's jump right into the questions. We have three today, as always. Why did bidding wars come back? I wouldn't say they're fully back everywhere in the Greater Toronto area, but definitely in areas like Oakville, Mississauga, even Burlington, we're seeing multiple offers on many properties, and we are seeing a lot of properties priced at a pretty outrageously low price, like $1 million price point for a 1.5, $1.6 million property. That to me is a little crazy, but I'm not going to go there for this podcast or anything like that. But I do think that they are making a comeback for two reasons. Number one, it is a tried and true strategy for sellers to list the property low, hopefully get some offers, hopefully create a bidding war, and then try to get the most amount of money possible for their property. That being said, I am seeing a lot of properties sell at market value. I've only seen a couple kind of go way above where the property should have been priced, but still something that is happening. And the other reason I think is that with the current pricing, it's really we're starting to see more price discovery now. And what that means is basically we're starting to see what actual values are for properties. And I don't really want to discuss whether or not we've hit the bottom because nobody knows if we've hit the bottom until it's already passed. But we are seeing prices kind of settle in there, and they've been pretty flat for the last like basically 6, 7 months. So let's see how things go. But they are definitely back in certain pockets, and definitely have proven a solid strategy for some sellers in today's market. Next question, does it make sense to renew my lease? I think that really depends on your situation. It also depends on the property that you're renting and what your lease price is, really. If your landlord has raised the rent, if you are in a building newer than November 15th, 2018, and they've raised the rent by $600, $700 because they don't have to raise it by the Ontario guideline, then it might be worth exploring possibly purchasing if that's something that you're looking to do. The reason I say that is that step up purchase from like last year to get out of your lease and go into a purchase would have been a lot more difficult than it is today. Even with rates higher, you're still purchasing at a cheaper purchase price. So your point of entry is lower from a down payment standpoint, land transfer tax, all that kind of stuff. So definitely lower now than it would have been last year at this time. So something to consider if your rent payment has gone up by a big amount, maybe you're starting to get into mortgage territory. Something to consult with a mortgage broker. And if you ever want an opinion, of course, you can reach out to me and we can have a discussion. And it really just depends on what works for your given personal situation. That's the number one thing to discuss for sure. I would say also too, if your rent is super low and maybe you can start saving for that down payment or save extra for the down payment, also something to consider too. There is no rush for anything. It's all about when the timing works for you. If getting into the market is something you are considering, take your time, be patient, and whenever it's right for you, it's right for you. Next question. Why do I need to pay my tenant 1 month's rent if I want to move back in or sell my property? Yeah, that's a Ontario rule is that if you are giving an N12 notice of eviction to your tenant at the 1 year mark or beyond, because after that 1 year mark, the lease actually goes month to month, then you would have to give 60 days notice from basically from the first day. Uh, so for example, let me rephrase that from if the lease is on the first of the month, every single month you get paid, then you'd have to give it from the next first of the month 60 days notice. So if today is February 23rd, you'd have to give the 60 days notice from March 1st and 60 days from there. So something to consider. And if you are moving into the property or if you're selling it and the new buyer is going to move in, then you do owe the tenant 1 month's rent over and above the deposit that you're holding for the last month of rent as well. Now, there are some exceptions to that. You can do an 11 mutual release if both yourself and the tenant agree to that. That's something for you to have a discussion. I am not a paralegal, so this is not advice by any means. This is just having the discussion of the N12 is something that is you do have to have a purpose to serve it, of course. And I don't want to go into all that, but just anyway, you do have to give it 60 days from the next first of the month, 1 month's rent owed to your tenant, and then you can move back in. Or the new buyers. Now, you can only give this to the tenant if you do have a firm sale offer. in hand, so that way the new buyers do plan to move in. So there are some things with that. So definitely something to consult with your realtor, your lawyer, paralegal, just to make sure you get all the information there. But that's a very Coles Notes. If you don't know what Coles Notes are, it's just a quick notes version of that rule that we have here in Ontario. Those are your questions. Live Q&A. Enjoy your week. See you next week.